Well, hello there, my fellow rushers. How are you doing today? King Rex here, and today we're continuing on with Kingdom Rush hero reviews. Last time we left off with King Dinos, and now we're moving on to another hero that is honestly my personal favorite. I'm sorry, Ignis, but I have a special crush on Elora Wintersong.
Winter is coming.
And she is just amazing hero. She can deal with almost anything under the sun, and you'll see why in a minute. But before that, let's check out her stats. Here you go. 450 health. Now that's not a lot of health, but you know, it's kinda reasonable because you know, she's a mage. She doesn't need all that much health. However, she has armor. What? Yeah, that's 50% armor. That's pretty interesting because she's the only mage in the whole franchise that actually has resistance. Which is pretty interesting because if it comes down to the wire, you can use her for stalling power, which is something that you never think of for a wizard. The damage though, 34 to 101. Now that's a pretty huge gap. That's pretty huge indeed, but I don't know. I find, you know, that's kind of alright for a mage, and her attack speed is every 2 seconds, so not too great, but I find it to be decent at most. So yeah, that's nice. Pretty interesting stats. Now let's check out her abilities. Starting off with Permafrost.
Cool. Winter is coming.
So yeah, this ability is quite interesting. It's basically a massive slowdown. She affects a pretty big area, even when she first unlocks the ability, which you know is pretty cool. And on top of that, it slows down every enemy, including bosses and mini bosses. Like what? Yeah, this ability can slow down even bosses, which you don't think it's possible to slow down a boss, but you can. You can with Elora, and that's pretty unique. And you know, you want to know what the crazy part is? It has whopping 8 seconds cooldown. 8 seconds cooldown is like nothingness for such an insane ability. It's awesome. And if you're wondering what the slowdown actually is, it's 80%. And 80% is quite a lot. And basically, once she levels up at a certain point, aka level 5 and level 8, the area becomes bigger and bigger, which is amazing. She can just slow down big crowds of enemies and give you time to deal with them. Sure, it doesn't affect them for very long, it's only 2 seconds, but that slowdown is pretty drastic, if I do say so myself. And also, I forgot to mention one little thing about her basic attacks in the intro. Her basic attacks have 80% chance to slow down an enemy by 50% for 2 seconds, including bosses, by the way, so yeah, that's awesome. And the other if she gets the odd 20%, she can freeze an enemy completely for 2 seconds, which is again pretty cool. However, the freeze doesn't affect bosses, which you know, it's kinda reasonable because otherwise the ability will be a little bit too broken, but it would have been satisfying to see a boss just frozen solid. That will be pretty cool to see. And the second ability is Ice Storm.
Cool. Winter is coming. Ice,
So yeah, the second ability is pretty interesting as well. Basically, it's her damage ability, to put it in the least amount of words. And she summons 3 icicles that come from the sky, and each one of them does between 30 and 60 magical damage. Now keep in mind, I say magical damage, so against enemies that have high magic resistance, it's gonna do barely any damage. So keep an eye out for enemies that have magic resistance, like demon spawns, for example. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And again, the cooldown is really short. It's only 7 seconds. And 7 seconds is barely any time, which is really good. And once she levels up, the damage from the spikes doesn't get increased, but rather her amount of spikes, or sorry, icicles that she summons increases. She goes from 3 to 5, and then at level 10 he gets all the way up to 8 spikes, which is a pretty good amount. And again, you can do quite a lot of damage with her. And that's why I really love her, because she can just deal with crowds almost by herself, as long as they don't have magic resistance. So yeah, overall Elora is a really good option. I'll give her a solid 9 out of 10. She's awesome. By far one of the best heroes in the game. Now, is she better than Ignis? I don't know, it depends. But, you know, if you ask the majority, they're probably gonna say Ignis, but, you know, I like Elora a lot, because, I mean, sure, unlike Ignis, she can deal with anything, with everything, because, you know, Ignis, everything he does is true damage, while Elora does only magical damage. So yeah, that can be a little problematic. Excuse me for a moment. Apologies, I had to cough for a moment. So yeah, as I was saying, she is kind of an iffy. But if you really like her, go get her. I'll recommend her for sure. And yeah, guys, well, that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content in the future. And while you're at it, drop a like on the video. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you in the next video. Until it comes, that was King Rexy. Over and out.